Hello, this is Mr. Hatton, and this is going to be part 2 of the PowerPoint working with text. So hopefully you've been following along with part 1. If not, you should go back and look at that one to see how we got to the point where we are now. So remember, I'm doing a presentation on the Cincinnati Bengals. You can choose whatever content area and choose themes and styles to match whatever your content is. And so far all we've worked with was selecting a theme, the type of text, so setting a font style, font sizes, and then we worked with adding word art, and so we use that one for our offense slide. So now we're going to keep working with that. We're going to look at a couple other things. We're going to add a new slide, but this time I'm going to show you one other trick with this that you could use if you wanted to make things stay consistent and a little bit easier, but just that we can duplicate a slide. So now you can see we've got two identical slides showing up here on our outline view. Just that if I wanted to keep the font the same, I'm actually going to end up changing it, but just know that you can duplicate a slide either by using the drop down and use duplicate selected slides, or right click on the slide in the outline view and then it will add the exact same slide there as well. So I am going to change this one to defense, and we're going to look at a couple positions from defense. We will go with defensive back, Adam Jones, defensive line, Geno Atkins, defensive end, Carlos Dunlap. And so now we've got our text there again that we could work with changing our line spacing to where we could add that to make that large space. Since we have fewer, it may actually work to double space it. We actually need to select all of them to make sure that it applies to all of them. Double space that one as opposed to the 1.5 spacing on our other one so that it still fills out the whole slide. We've left the same word art, but for this one I want us to give it a different look. And so I'm actually going to zoom in on it a little bit. Zoom in and scroll up to where we can see defense. Instead of this black fill, we're going to look at a different fill option that we have that we can use. So I'm going to select this text, and instead of just using a black fill, I'm going to my Drawing Tools tab, and then I'm going to go to Text Fill, but instead of selecting a color, I'm going to go to a gradient. And so what a gradient does, it really makes it look like a color fade. It will be hard to see in the letters, but if I select this one from the center there just to see it, I'm going to change it. You can see it starts out as dark in the middle, and then as it spreads out, it goes to a lighter color on the edges. And so if you did that as a background, it would be much more evident what you were doing, but it will still work as a text fill as well. But the one that we're actually going to leave, we're going to go to our text fill, and this time we're going to select a texture. And so what a texture is it's actually an image that gets put in the background to make it look like it has some other type of texture. So you can make it look like there are water droplets on the letters. We can make it look like it's some kind of like a cloth background. We could give it some kind of marble look as well. And so we're going to just choose a different a texture fill. You can give it the brown paper bag look, but let's just choose one for defense that will apply there. And so you can see that we can add a lot of different options. Just went to view and then fit to window to make it come back to our regular set. So we've got different options for how we can make those letters look. And so again, that comes from the under the Drawing Tools, which will appear once you have word art entered, and then you can actually add those into the text. All right, and the next thing that I wanted to show you was something that's called the Format Painter. And so this can be important when you're trying to make your presentation to be consistent, to have a certain feel that would be able to be used multiple times without having to go back and set every individual piece. Because again, consistency is key when you're creating a good presentation, because you want it to really flow. You don't want there to be differences that distract from what your main point is going to be. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add some different styling to some of the names, and then we're going to go back and use our Format Painter to apply that same pattern to all of our names that we have here. So we're going to go back to the Home tab. I've selected the first name that I have, and then let's give it a different font. So you really wouldn't want to have a different font on the same page. I'm going to do it for the sake of demonstration. You can do this in yours as well. But let's just choose one. that's clearly different. We're going to give it a bold and underline. Then we're also going to change the color of the font to black. So whereas we had it as a dark gray here, we're going to change it to actual black. So I could go through for each name and do that, or what would be easier is I can use the format painter where I'm going to select the text that I want it to copy, then use the format painter, and you'll see that the icon from my mouse is now changed to a paintbrush. Think about that as that you just dipped your bucket in the paintbrush of what this Adam Jones text is in. And then we're going to click and drag across Geno Atkins, and then when I let go of the mouse, it changed automatically. But now I can't go straight down to Carlos Dunlap and it didn't make the change. A way to think about and to remember it is that think about that you have to dip your paintbrush every time you use it. So if I want to copy that again, I'm going to select this text, dip my mouse or my paintbrush in the format painter, and then paint that onto Carlos Dunlap, and it changed all of the font there as well. If you realize that you didn't like the font and you wanted to get rid of that, you could also now, if we select this font again, and this option here is to clear all formatting. If I click on it, it actually takes it back to the default font size and gets rid of all of the changes that have been made. I'm going to press Control-Z on the keyboard. That will undo that last action. And so there we can see that the format painter, it just saves you time by allowing you to make those changes all at once. So another text option that we can work with that is similar to working with the bullet points is just using a numbered list. So I'm going to add a new slide, title and content, and I'm going to change my title here to Pre-Season Schedule. And instead of having bullet points, this time I'm just going to click this option here that has the numbers, and that's going to change my bulleted list to a numbered list. And so number 1 for the preseason is the Buccaneers, followed by number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, and number 3, the Redskins. And so each time as I'm just hitting enter at the line, it's automatically adding that next number. A few options that we have if I select those words. For one, I'm going to use this arrow here to change my text to be at 40 to be consistent with my other slides. But if I click the drop down, I can go to bullets and numbering, and I actually have options for how I want those numbers to appear. We could have them as Roman numerals, you could have them as letters, whether or not you wanted the parentheses. You could also choose how big you want the numbers to be. So if I actually wanted the numbers to be bigger, I could set them to be 150% of the text. And I could also change the color to where the color of the numbers is going to be different. We'll make them just like a orangish white color that should show up against our white background. I'm going to click OK, and you can see that it changed it there to the settings that we had. It did not change the letters themselves, but it did change the numbers, how big they were. You can actually see that they're bigger than the letters are, and they've also changed the colors without changing the color to the lettering. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a new slide, but instead of just clicking the icon, we're actually going to click this drop down, and we're just going to add a blank slide. The reason we're going to do this is that I just want us to practice with adding our own text boxes and customizing the slide itself. We would want it to probably be consistent, but we're going to do that just for our practice. And then we're going to insert, and then we're going to insert a text box. I click that, and then I click and drag, and that creates the text box, and it will stick to wherever it is. It doesn't make the font automatically match the text box, so you would still have to go back, change the font sizes to where they match. But let's call this one Regular Season Schedule. And then let's change our font size up to 40. And then we'll readjust our the size. And actually, if we go back and look, our titles are actually they're actually a size 51. So we're going to select this one. I'm actually going to select the box, click center. It will center it within the box there. Select our wording, and And then let's change it so without having to just press the up button to 51, since we know that's exactly what we want it. And then we will readjust this to where it'll fit all in one line. And we'll make it bold. It takes some working with it. It's not the right font style to work with the other ones. So there's actually the impact, and so we'll change that. So you can see that's pretty similar. It looks like if you look in the outline that ours may be off a little bit as far as how close it is to the edge and to the top. We could make it exact if we wanted to. The easiest would have been just to create a slide that's already in that style. But we're doing this just for the sake of practice, to practice adding our own text box. And so then now we're going to again go to Insert, Text Box. We're going to add our text box here. And you'll notice that it may readjust it now to a smaller size, but then we can always change that to make it fit what we want it to be. So as we add that, I'm going to add another numbered list. You can see it's appearing there, and then it will become permanent. And they are going to play the Ravens, the Bills, and the Bears. I won't put the whole season on there, but we can make the text larger. You can see it's actually expanding the text box as we move that. We can move the entire text box around by using this 4-point arrow when we move the mouse to where it's over the edge of the text box. We could set up columns within our text box, and so that would actually stay within the text box. It would be specific to this text box, and so we could click the columns option, change it to 2 columns, and then now when I press enter, it actually moves the columns over here, so we could actually add a little bit more to the schedule. The Browns, the Lions, and the Texans. And so it was added within. It did not apply it to the entire text. Even if we had another text box, it would only apply the columns to this specific text box. We could have chosen to add 2 or 3 or specific columns of our own, but we just have it set at 2 right now, and that's adding columns. So what I would like for you to do is practice with this yourself. Use your own. You can go along with this video and stop it as you're going through to add each part, but create a presentation, and I want you to make sure that you have the following things in your presentation, and I'll put those on here so that you can stop it and go back to look at it and see what it is that you're supposed to have. Let's actually change the layout here to a title and content. And we're going to say create a slide, add a theme, use a custom colored variant, create word art titles, apply a gradient and texture fill. This will have to be on separate titles because you can't have both a gradient and a texture fill. Then we're going to include a bulleted list, include a numbered list, use custom, having trouble with my spelling here, use custom numbers and font colors for the numbering and bullet points, add columns to a numbered list, and add a new text box to a slide. Practice all of those things and let me know if you have any questions, and I would be happy to help. Thank you.